Whoa, something finally happened to get me out of my shitty office chair and actually do what I tell people I'm gonna do? Oh boy. Oh god. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. So, Halo Infinite finally got revealed worryingly close to launch, and I've gotta say, I'm pretty, eh. In other words, I'm underwhelmed. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say that I can't judge an entire game based off of one pretty short clip of gameplay, but this is literally 5 months away from the launch date that is still set for the game, and we have gotten nothing except 2 cinematic trailers over the course of years, a lot of toy leaks, and this. So, until more info comes out, it's all I have to actually judge the game before it launches. But first of all, in order to understand my attitude towards Halo Infinite and why I feel so underwhelmed and frustrated and disappointed, I'd like to take us back to 2015, with the launch of Halo 5 Guardians. Of course, with me still being a starry-eyed little simp for Halo, I made the mistake of pre-ordering the game. To anyone who actually played the game, you know why this was a terrible decision. When Halo 5's Hunt the Truth ad campaign was in full swing, words could not express my excitement. The story that was being set up seemed amazing. Master Chief going rogue, a new badass character to hunt down the living legend, the one who saved the galaxy single-handedly multiple times. Oni being this evil shadow government and these mysterious destructive foreigner constructs awakening. Needless to say, all of this mystery and intrigue had me pumped. Along with being hyped for my favorite game series, I was obsessed with every book I could get my lotion-greased 15-year-old hands on. I reread old Halo books and every one available I had at the time. I even listened to the Hunt the Truth story on its official page and it was brilliant. I even read Halo Escalation. Yeah, I read Halo Escalation. You see, Halo had always been my favorite game series and favorite sci-fi, well, anything since I was a kid, and I went from book to book, trailer to trailer, day to day, month to month, waiting for the game to be launched. I consumed every bit of game material just to sate my craving for Halo and to get a taste of what I thought was to come. Big emphasis on the thought part of that sentence. Despite the enhanced mobility and having played the beta on the Master Chief Collection, I still managed to convince myself to be hyped. I mean, it really seemed like Halo was going to have an epic story worthy of its name, the likes of which had never been seen before. They even had Cosmo Janochi, the man who composed arguably the best track on Halo 4 at the helm of the soundtrack, but I didn't realize that I had become so entranced in the thought of what the game could be, that I was horribly unprepared for what it ended up being. When the game came out, I went to the midnight release and even napped for 2 hours while my slow internet installed the game. I played it throughout the entire night and even faked a migraine to stay home from school so I could experience the game uninterrupted. But when I beat it, I just didn't really know how to feel about it at first, but as the day progressed, I got pretty damn angry. I felt cheated. I felt lied to. The new gameplay didn't feel like Halo. It didn't even look like Halo. The story between Locke and Chief was absolutely nothing like it was advertised. Cortana came back from the fucking dead? What? All of it took everything I loved about Halo 4, from the admittedly melodramatic story between Cortana and Chief, to the didact, to the criminally underrated and underused soundtrack from Neil Davidge, to Master Chief's entire character development story, and threw it out the damn window. It was glaringly obvious that instead of sticking to some vision they had for a long-term trilogy or saga, they had taken the criticism of Halo 4 too much to heart, and I guess they just decided that all of Halo 4 was terrible, except they decided to keep everything bad about the game. You know, like the Power Ranger-looking Spartans, the horrible weapon and sound design, the spammy abilities that kill the flow of combat, the vehicles made out of papier-mâché, which kinda started in Reach, to be honest. But it seems like they just doubled down on what made Halo 4 such a conflicted mess of a game. Halo 5's gameplay felt absurdly like a derivative enhanced mobility first-person shooter, and it still does. Just like how Halo 4 had first-person cutscenes and quick-time events and loadouts, Halo 5 had thrusters and shoulder charge and levitating and aim-down sights, and just a lot of shit that didn't belong in Halo. I'd like to point you to Chris Raygun's video on Sprint in Halo if you want a very good breakdown of it, but here's the short version of it. It doesn't belong in Halo. Well, why? Well, personally, I like to have a dynamic gameplay while moving at a good pace and to play a damn good arena shooter, but the core of it is that sprint literally only gives you the illusion of you moving faster. You aren't actually moving faster. It has the same movement speed as something like Halo 3 when you're walking. You just think you're going faster. You're actually locked into an animation when Halo used to have you be able to do everything in the game like reload, shoot, throw grenades, melee, but now if you want to actually get anywhere in a decent amount of time and not be a target, you have to repeatedly switch between sprinting and not sprinting. It's just tiresome. And it also ruins the map design because now it has to be all wonky and inflated to fit one mechanic that is only in a shooter to make it seem more realistic. And I'm not playing Halo to know what it's like to be a super soldier in the future or to play some war simulator. I'd play other games if I wanted that experience. I'm playing Halo to play Halo. Whew, okay, I got the sprint stuff out of my system. Now I'd like to relate this all back to my main point, if there is one. Halo 5 left me blue-balled, and it completely deceived me to the point of criminal false advertising. But some of the biggest complaints I have with Halo 5 are seemingly just gonna be repeated in Halo Infinite. For instance, the previous story and everything it set up was wiped away with Halo 5. Now with Infinite, everything set up with the last game has been swept aside. Now don't get me wrong, I completely and utterly despise the absolute horrific insult of a story that Halo 5 delivered to me like one would a platter of literal shit, but the problems are clear. This is supposed to be a trilogy. None of these games so far feel connected at all. Halo 5's story just yeeted all the stuff from Halo 4 and even brought a character back from the fucking dead just to ruin Halo for us, and now we're supposed to act like I should care at all because Halo Infinite has some designs that look nostalgic or whatever? It's extremely reminiscent of the Disney Star Wars films. You have the first entry in the trilogy that, while very flawed and derivative, gets you hyped for the potential for the rest of the story. Then you have the absolute abortion of a sequel that completely disrupts the vision and ruins the entire flow of the story and breaks it entirely so badly that you get the final entry, which has to nostalgia bait and try and shittily fix the irreparable mess of the second entry, most of which is done by outright ignoring what came before. That's not a story. It's a horrible mess, and they mirror one another pretty damn well. The talk of Halo is back and Halo is good again is stuff I've heard before. I've heard it all before, and I really just can't see it. Just like with Halo Wars 2, Microsoft and 343's response to the overly convoluted story of Halo 5 was to essentially just have no story at all, and now their response to the false advertising of Halo 5 is to have no advertising at all. Which brings me to the big question at the center of all of my frustration-fueled rambling about Halo Infinite. How can all of this blow people's minds? Maybe I'm just a jaded, cynical bastard, but take Brohammer for instance. We have barely seen anything from this character, and I honestly couldn't care less about him. I miss characters that were fun and charismatic like Sergeant Johnson and Buck, not you, or even Lasky when he was a bro in Halo 4, but people are talking about a character that we have barely seen at all as though he's somehow amazing when we don't really know him or how much of a role he's going to play in the game. The gunplay looks almost exactly like Halo 5's, the new guns really don't look that impressive, and honestly this new heavy plasma repeater thingy just reminds me of Doom, and whatever this is doesn't even look like it belongs in Halo. The brute designs are admittedly pretty damn good, but that's pretty much just it. The game looks very clunky for something 5 months from launch, and I admittedly just get the vibe that these mechanics, like the grappling hook, which is pretty damn cool, are just a way to make Halo new and trendy and to stand out. Ultimately, 343 is a company, and they chase trends. And just like when they chase trends in Halo 4 and Halo 5, it doesn't really appeal to me. For instance, the open world objective markers. I have no interest in these personally. To me, it comes off as non-linear in the same way that Halo 5 was marketed as non-linear, with new strict set pathways to approach a situation that only gives you the illusion of something being non-linear. See, the beauty of the original Halo games, without armor abilities or Spartan charges or tons of crazy shit going on all the time, were that they were extremely dynamic. Every situation could be approached in a different manner, and it all depended on many different factors such as your weapon loadout, the environment, the composition of enemy forces, how much ammo you had, grenades, and it goes on forever. While that is still true here, it just doesn't seem the same to me. I just don't see how it's supposed to be a big return to form. The only things I saw that were a return to form so far were the art style and the fact that we didn't have tons of armor abilities, and we actually have some creative and fun new sandbox items, but Some new weapons, some clunky looking gameplay, and a brute villain I literally could not care less about because we have no history with him just doesn't reignite the spark that I had for Halo back in the day. I'm not clambering over myself to get this game and stay up all night just to experience it. I've heard every single promise of Infinite, and I heard them all with Halo 5, and I'm not too eager to let my hype rule me again instead of my gut feeling. And my gut feeling says this isn't going to be the great Halo game I want, and you know what? It's great if people enjoy it, but I also think you're kind of gullible and easy to please if you're reacting like this guy.
No fucking way!
I personally can't wrap my head around being excited by a product created by a company that has had the rights to Halo for almost as long as Bungie had it, and who has done next to nothing with it. We have gotten, what, 2 mediocre at best games and a lot of books that I could care less about these days, with the exception of Kelly Gay and Troy Denning's writings. I just want a classic feeling Halo, and I'll live if that never comes to pass. Recapturing the magic just isn't something that's possible. But I also just think this game isn't going to be very good. So much of what we saw just seems like more and more of an attempt to brute force trends into Halo like open world mechanics. I'm not all negative though, and like I've mentioned throughout the video, I do like the bandage designs and this revolver thingy mangler gun. Also, Chief looks absolutely amazing in this game. I didn't think his armor looked very good in the Discover Hope trailer, but now, it's definitely his best design since Halo 1 and 2 in my own opinion. Like, hands down, it's amazing. I like that the armor on the brutes breaks off when you shoot them instead of dissipating or having them be naked bullet sponges. I like that the elites actually look like elites again, and I like that there are cool grenades and grappling hooks, and as a matter of fact, the ability to spawn in a shield wall and a grapple hook is pretty much what I've always wanted in terms of equipment, not armor abilities. And the fact that it's pretty much confirmed to only be able to be picked up in multiplayer sounds awesome to me. But for all of that, this just doesn't seem like Halo to me, and thus I really don't think it'll be a good Halo game. It seems like another derivative trend-chasing game where 343 attempts to reinvent the wheel of Halo when they really don't need to. I don't like that the gun descriptions sound like they're straight out of Destiny and the weapons remind me of something from other games. I didn't like enhanced mobility or loadouts because they're clearly taken from other games that are completely different, and those mechanics don't fit well within Halo. Kinda like Sprint. Halo doesn't need to be modern or be like other games because it already stands out as unique. This is the grave mistake that 343 has made from the start of their tenure as the company at the helm of Halo. Halo does need to evolve, but not by changing what makes the game feel like it does. I don't need rocket boosters and crazy abilities to fly around the map. I just want to have a fun, good, old-fashioned arena shooter experience with Halo. But in the end, all I can say is, be careful. Don't get too obsessed with the idea of what you create in your head of what this game could be like. Get off the hype train eventually and really look at the game when it is released. And if you still love it as just as much as you do now, buy it and enjoy the hell out of it. And to use that same logic, maybe I'll end up changing my mind. Maybe I'll warm up to it and I'll really love playing Halo again. Maybe I'll warm up to the open world mechanics and love them like I love Breath of the Wild. Or perhaps I'll have a shit ton of fun grapple-shotting around and shooting aliens, but if not, then I don't think this game is going to be for me. And maybe Halo never will be again. Just like Star Wars and Star Trek and Mass Effect and Avatar, I may not enjoy their new entries at all. But even if I can't, I have years and years built up of memories from the good of the originals and everything they had to offer. While I wish for new creations to remind me of what was once good, I feel like that's the problem with so much of today's entertainment. We are obsessed with how something used to make us feel that we forget that new things can be good too. And maybe that'll be true with Halo Infinite. And maybe I've just been too harsh on Halo given just how important this game series is to me and how many friends I've made over the years through it. How many important memories I have with loved ones playing this game series. And were it another game, were it a newer game, I'd be less frustrated and more excited. But as long as it's attached to the Halo label, I'm always going to love what Halo used to be more than what it is now. And I'll probably always be less interested than someone more familiar with the 343 era, and I think that's fine. I think Halo should have ended a long time ago, and I'd rather see good new titles and IPs, new creations, rather than the 400 sequel or prequel or remake or reboot or spiritual reboot. I want a good company to make a good game, or a good movie, or a good anything, and I think maybe it's time for me to accept that what I personally want from Halo isn't what everyone wants. But I also am still going to firmly stand by my opinion. I likely won't be buying this game on release either, but if reviews and my various friends in the Halo fandom end up loving it to death and there isn't the same division from Halo 4 and 5 in the community, then I may just consider it. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. And this time I won't be making any promises about new videos or new schedules. I already messed that up twice.